I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. The Ann Arbor Farmers Market is a place to find fresh local food of all kinds. And the third Wednesday of each month from 5 to 8 p.m. now through October, they are welcoming a variety of different cuisines on four wheels.
It's the food truck rally that happens here Wednesday every month. A ton of food trucks come out. We're coming down from Ferndale, but a lot from all over the place.
Our food is all locally sourced, local farms. 80% of our food is organic, the spices, the oils, and we get the best of meat that is available. And we want to feed people good food.
We're a sandwich truck, and we really are all about having inclusivity. So like, if you're a hero or you're a villain, you can come here. If you have a gluten intolerance, if you have dietary concerns, we try to accommodate those things.
They're sold out of almost everything, so I guess it was good.
Come for the good food, the good fun, the good vibes.
And Arbor is like a melting pot of cultures and communities. And you come here and, to the food truck rally, and then all kinds of people, all kinds of cuisines, they become like, part of the culture here.
Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. The city is home to more than 160 must-see parks, with scenic views, places to play, and some top-notch facilities. See all that Wheeler Park has to offer to the community during this Park Peak.
Wheeler Park is just under 2 acres in size, located just north of downtown Ann Arbor in the Carytown area. The park is packed with activities. The park contains a playground, restroom building with water fountain, a walking, running skate track, basketball court, plaza with benches, picnic shelter with picnic tables and grills, an open field area, and an asphalt walk connection to all the activities. In 2020, the Allen Creek Railroad berm project was completed, resulting in a tunnel under the railroad to create a path that connects Wheeler Park to the Border to Border Trail. The trailhead is accessed at the corner of Depot and 5th Street at the crosswalk at the northeast corner of the park. For more, visit a2gov.org/parks.
The 15th District Court has gone digital when filing civil cases. Learn more about e-filing in this month's City Roundup in 60.
At the 15th District Court, we are going live with the MiFile system, which is an electronic document filing system. Just like you do your banking electronically and you do a lot of your purchasing electronically, you'll now be able to file pleadings, file documents with the court electronically. It's only for our civil cases. So it's our general civil cases, landlord-tenant, and small claims cases. It'll be easier for our patrons to use our services, and it will make us more efficient.
City clerks wear many hats with a wide range of responsibilities. The role of the city clerk is to stay up to date on the ever-evolving role of municipalities through communication with cities throughout the area, trainings, and seminars. Joining me is the Ann Arbor City Clerk and President of the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, Jacqueline Beaudry. Welcome back to the show, Jackie.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks for having me again.
I'd like to know, how long have you been the Ann Arbor City Clerk, and sort of tell us about your background, what led you into that role?
So I've been the Ann Arbor City Clerk since 2005, so quite a few years now. And I studied at Eastern Michigan with a master in public administration. So I guess I, always intended to be in local government, but actually kind of fell into clerking with my first job was at Superior Township, which is a neighboring township of Ann Arbor, between Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. So I was deputy clerk there for a few years and just really, I guess, fell in love with like election administration and the role of the clerk. So that's kind of where I got my start. And then with my education and training, then ended up here in Ann Arbor in 2005.
It's interesting because, you mentioned it's like you don't even know what path you're going on at first. You don't hear a lot of people in college say, I want to be a city clerk. I feel like it's something that happens in the path of your career a lot of times.
Exactly. I think people either end up with a first job in a clerk's office or somewhere in local government, and particularly election administration, they discover that, and it's a really rewarding part of local government to feel like you're part of making sure democracy happens. And so as president of the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, as kind of our role in that MAMC organization to train new clerks and to make sure they are, ready professionally to hold that top job.
Talk about MAMC. Is that how you, is that what, that's what the clerks in the know call it? Talk about when you started with them and why you felt like it was such a worthy organization to continue to move up the ranks.
So the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, we have members who are obviously we represent city and township clerks. And one of our major focuses are educating professional clerks. And so education and training, we have a statewide certification program. So if you go through our 3-year institute at Central Michigan University, then clerks come out of that as a Michigan professional municipal clerk. So they have, whether that's for their own township or city councils or their city manager to say that I have that professional training, or even if they're searching for a new job to say, I've done this, I have this professional development. And so there's a certain level of knowledge and skills that are associated with being a professional municipal clerk. The other thing that the MAMC does for our members, both city and township, is lobbying. So we lobby for legislation that is of interest or benefit to municipal clerks. Right now, the most obvious is related to implementation of the new election changes that are coming with early voting that was passed by Michigan voters in November of 2022.
So you became part of the MAMC, you got certified through them. And then talk about, sort of going through the steps, and then you were nominated as Clerk of the Year at some point.
So the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, we have a board of directors. And so I got involved. I've been a member ever since I've been Ann Arbor City Clerk. But I got involved, first you might join a committee or you start going to their conferences. And in 2019, I applied and got on the board, and I was actually the director of membership. And part of that role is implementing and kind of making the rules and tweaking the professional certification program. So I found that really interesting. And so while I was on the board, that was my focus, was the professional municipal clerk certification. And then a few years ago, I was asked if I would move from the director role into the vice president, which we have a first vice president, and then eventually you become president. So I moved from just a director into the officer role. And so then at our last conference in June, I became the president. So I'll be president until June of 2024.
So it's a full year presidency. Can you keep being the president year after year, or is that like something you pass on to someone else then?
No, you pass it on. So now there's a first vice president. And so they're like the next in line, and I'll remain on the board as past president for one more year. So you have that transition as clerks, kind of move through their careers, and it's a big commitment to be on the board. So then once you're president, past president, then it's kind of time you fall off and a new person comes in. And then you did ask me about the clerk of the year. So one of the other exciting things that our organization does is we have a city clerk of the year, a township clerk of the year, and we just added deputy clerk of the year. So for clerks that are, in that deputy role, hoping to maybe move into a city clerk role, or even if they're in their career as a deputy, but to recognize the importance of that number 2 role and what they do for the clerk's office, for election administration. So that's a new award. I think we've issued it maybe 3 years now. And my deputy, Steve Gearhart, actually received that award in 2022. So I was city clerk of the year in 2019. And then I was excited to see that he was able to be recognized then as deputy clerk of the year a few years
Wow,
ago.
congrats to both of you. That's great to have them both in the office, and you can
Thanks.
hang it on your wall. Do you have any objectives that you plan on implementing as president this year?
Well, one of the big things, obviously for clerks, both city, township, we're, seeing that 2024 presidential election coming at us. And so the big thing that we're working on as an organization, and then of course here in Ann Arbor, as city clerk as well, is preparation for the 2024 election. And so one of the things that the organization is really focused on this year is implementing Proposition 2, which is the second round of the Promote the Vote initiatives. And so the big change that was approved in November of 2022 is early voting. So in previous elections, Ann Arbor voters might have started to feel like we had some early voting options. And what we were offering was you could come in person if you chose to get an absentee ballot or a vote by mail ballot. So we were mailing absentee ballots and also opening up our satellite office on campus as well as City Hall for people to come get their absentee ballot early ahead of Election Day. And that worked well in the pandemic. And so looking at other states and looking at what Michigan voters are asking for, the next logical step was truly early voting, where you can come 9 days ahead of Election Day and actually get a ballot. And instead of it being folded up in an envelope to be tabulated on Election Day, you as a voter will actually have the opportunity to insert that ballot into the ballot counting machine, the tabulator, we call it. So you will have that as a early voter, that sense of I got to have that Election Day experience and I saw my vote go in the machine. So that's coming as early as our February presidential primary, and then August and November of 24 will also be federal elections. Of course, presidential is in November.
Yeah, that seems like a really important step to take because of all these fraud claims with the absentee. I mean, I personally love voting absentee. I think this is I like being able to sit at my house, sort of researching the ballot on my computer and seeing the way I want to vote I feel more informed, honestly, being able to vote from home. But I can see where people, it's just to get that need out of your head where I don't know what's happening to my ballot if I'm not physically putting it into the machine that's counting it.
Exactly. And I think the Ann Arbor voters have a high level of confidence in vote by mail. And we actually put out a public survey on our website a few months ago, just asking voters, do you know what early voting is? Do you know what's coming? How do you feel about it? Do you think that's, something you would consider? And a lot of the feedback we got was, I think this is really great and I'm happy you're offering it. But I'm also, for me personally, I really like that you mail me a ballot and then you send me an email saying, I got your ballot, you're all set.
Well, another thing that Ann Arbor has done the last few years, which I think is really cool, is the individual, like people in residence create "I voted" stickers, which I think is a really cool thing to get when you vote, and it's exciting. And I think that I hope, I guess, to see it continue year after year, because I think it's a really cool contest. And I think it's got to be very exciting for the people that actually their designs win, to see that happen and on when they get those stickers and be proud of it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna, we did that in 2020 and we had, we printed the winners from the elementary, high school, as well as a citywide winner. And we actually, not the sticker itself, well, all three stickers, I guess, we actually won a national award for like the coolest "I voted" sticker. And part of it, I think the sticker, and then the whole concept of that it was, like resident or voter created. So we got a lot of attention for that. And we did that in 2020. And I think Ann Arbor voters will see that we're coming, again saying, hey, let's get some new designs. So that's definitely on our mind, that people really like that.
You talk about things like this when you're at MAMC meetings, like maybe other cities implementing things like this, just to sort of like, it reminds me of like MTV's Rock the Vote, to get like more people to vote.
Definitely. I talked about MAMC doing a lot with training and professional development. And then, that other piece of our meetings and conferences that we hold is kind of networking and idea sharing. And so not just myself, but other, clerks with a lot of experience, we call on them to actually teach classes for us. And some of them are, really how-tos, like maybe think of Open Meetings Act or something like that. But then we also do some that are more like, here's a, best practice or a fun idea that you can implement. So, no sense in our neighbors reinventing the wheel. We try to, share our ideas.
Talk about that aspect of working together with other cities to sort of make this like all of you the best clerks that you can be, pretty much.
We've always had that kind of camaraderie as clerks, and within City Hall you have your colleagues, but you don't have another clerk necessarily, like you don't have somebody that does exactly what you do. So definitely, and the MAMC organization, and since I've been on the board, we're constantly reaching out to each other with, hey, I heard we're all learning the new changes with elections, and are we doing it this way, or what do you think about how are you going to implement this step? And so there's definitely a lot of just networking, asking questions, and having those resources. And then also, it's a national concern that election administration has gotten really, really tough, and it's hard for election officials. So sometimes some of the stuff you see in the news, clerks will be calling each other, just looking for somebody to kind of for that support, so since 2020 it's been tough for us. So it's definitely, we rely on each other for both information as well as just to support each other.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think in the past, before 2020, you never would have thought that there was contention towards city clerks, and then it just sort of spiraled. And I think that you guys carry a burden that other people that work for municipalities would never have to carry.
And it's every clerk I know, they're all about like free and fair election, and they just want to conduct the best election they can, and are really, really committed to public service and to the work we do.
You mentioned earlier in this interview that if you get certified, a professional certification through MAMC, is that a requirement to be a city clerk, or is that just something extra that people do?
So the Michigan certification is fairly new, and so it would vary from city to township whether that's required. Here in Ann Arbor, it is a requirement that the city clerk, I think it's within 24 months of hire, there is a national certification as well, the Certified Municipal Clerk. And so that's kind of a partner organization to MAMC at the national level. And so a lot of, especially larger cities, will require that you have that, what we call CMC, the Certified Municipal Clerk. And then as you progress in your career, there's advanced certifications, like I'm a master municipal clerk at the national level as well. And then I should also mention that the Secretary of State, it is now in law that election administrators do go through the Michigan Bureau of Elections, which is run through the Secretary of State's office. They also have a specific class for administering elections, and they do require that the clerk have that certification, and then they encourage your entire office to go to the classes as well. And here in Ann Arbor, we pretty much send, if we get a new person in the office at every level, we send them to that Secretary of State training.
Well, and it's always nice when your employer provides that for you, and that's part of your workday to get that training.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, is there anything that you would like to talk about, like the role of the city clerk, that maybe people are surprised that you do?
I guess I always say we have here in Ann Arbor a community academy where you can learn about all the different city departments and what we do. And so we run that program, but we also participate learn about, the city clerk's office. And I guess what I typically say is, the city clerk is the chief elections official for the city. So that big piece is elections. And then we're also the city's record keeper, and then clerk of council. So as city clerk, my role is to attend all the council meetings, and I prepare the agenda and take the minutes. So kind of those three things, we, kind of make a lot of the records, but then are also the record keeper. And then, of course, the elections piece. We're also sometimes a front line for the public. If they don't know who to call, the city clerk's office is open to the public. And we're here at City Hall Monday through Friday. So we often get I'm not sure if you're the right person, but I thought I'd try you. And usually whatever the question is, we can either answer it or get them to the right place.
Well, before we go, why don't you tell people, if you're interested, a younger college student or even someone in high school, sort of taking that path of becoming a city clerk, or if you're a deputy clerk or, just a city clerk in general, and being a part of the organization and how it helps.
It definitely helps. Early in my career, I joined the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, and I started attending the conferences, and but it sounds kind of like a cliche, but it's really true, is like the more you get involved, the more you get out of it. Once I joined a committee, and I started getting really interested in we have a legislative committee, and that's that lobbying piece that we do. And, you learn more, you meet more people, you have those connections. And so that was kind of my path to then somebody said, why don't you think about getting on the board? You're one of the biggest cities. And so then you have, the colleagues that you meet, and the friendships, but just besides that, the professional, network that you have available to you. So I think most of our clerks, they start with, can you help me? I need training. I don't know, I'm new in this role. We have elected township clerks, so sometimes they are coming in with not a lot of background. And I didn't mention we have the certification. We also offer Clerking 101, which is literally like a 2-day boot camp on here's all the basics. And I've taught that class. The Lansing City Clerk has taught it. We have the experienced clerks sharing that knowledge with somebody brand new. So it's definitely, in my experience, definitely just being a member and getting the materials and the training. And then, for those that are able and willing to do more, you get more out of it that way as well.
Well, I'd like to congratulate you on your presidency and say that I know personally that being a city clerk is got to be a very difficult job to have in the city. And I think at least the people that I know, we're proud to say that you are our city clerk.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on to talk about the city clerk profession and the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks.
For this and for more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.